Humans like to think intelligence belongs to us. We build cities, solve equations, create technology, and send machines into space. But across the animal kingdom, some creatures are doing things that seem surprisingly familiar. They solve puzzles, they use tools, they recognize themselves, they remember individuals for years. Some can even plan for the future, deceive others, and apparently mourn their dead. So if humans disappeared from the ranking for a moment, which animals would be the smartest on Earth? Let's find out. We'll begin with one of our closest living relatives, the chimpanzee. Chimpanzees share much of their evolutionary history with humans, and their intelligence becomes obvious when you watch them solve problems. While chimpanzees can use sticks to extract termites from nests, they use stones like hammers to crack open nuts, and some groups even modify sticks before using them, turning ordinary objects into specialized tools. But their abilities go beyond tool use. Chimpanzees have excellent memories. In laboratory tests involving numbers appearing briefly on a screen, some chimpanzees have demonstrated astonishing short-term visual memory. They also understand social relationships. A chimpanzee doesn't just know who is stronger, it can remember friendships, rivalries, family connections, and alliances within a large group. That matters because chimp society can become extremely political. Individuals cooperate, they compete, they form alliances, and sometimes they appear to deceive one another to gain food or social advantage. Sound familiar? Now dive beneath the ocean and intelligence takes a completely different form. Dolphins live in a world where hands don't exist, so instead of building tools the way humans do, much of their intelligence seems focused on communication, cooperation, and social relationships. Dolphins can recognize individual companions through unique signature whistles. You can think of these whistles almost like names. One dolphin can apparently imitate another dolphin's signature whistle when trying to get its attention. They are also incredibly cooperative hunters. Some dolphins work together to surround schools of fish. Others coordinate with humans in certain traditional fishing communities. And perhaps most famously, dolphins have shown evidence of recognizing themselves in mirrors. Researchers often use mirror recognition as one possible indicator that an animal understands the reflection as itself rather than another animal. That ability is surprisingly rare. Dolphins also remember one another for an extraordinarily long time. A dolphin separated from another individual can still recognize its whistle many years later. Imagine remembering someone's voice after not hearing it for decades. If intelligence were measured partly by memory, elephants would be serious contenders. An elephant herd may travel through enormous landscapes searching for food and water. Older elephants can remember routes, seasonal water sources, and potentially dangerous locations. That knowledge can help an entire family survive. But elephant intelligence becomes especially interesting when we look at their social behavior. Elephants form extremely strong family bonds. They cooperate to protect calves. They comfort distressed herd members, and they show unusual behavior around dead elephants. They may inspect bones, touch remains with their trunks, or remain near a dead companion. Scientists are careful about describing this as human-style mourning. But whatever is happening, elephants clearly respond to death in ways that are difficult to ignore. They've also demonstrated problem-solving ability and tool use. An elephant might move an object into position so it can stand on it and reach food. So behind that giant body is an animal capable of memory, cooperation, and remarkably complex social behavior. Now for an animal that seems like it shouldn't be competing with apes and dolphins at all. A bird. Specifically, members of the crow family. Crows and ravens have relatively small brains compared with humans, but brain size alone doesn't determine intelligence. Their brains are extremely efficient. Some crow species can manufacture tools. New Caledonian crows, for example, can shape sticks and other materials to retrieve food from difficult locations. In experiments, corvids have solved multi-step puzzles where completing one action gives them the tool needed for the next. They can also remember human faces. And that memory isn't always friendly. Researchers studying crows have found that birds can associate particular human faces with danger and continue reacting to them much later. Even more amazingly, information about dangerous humans may spread socially among other crows.
Ravens add another strange ability. They sometimes hide food for later. But if another raven watches them hide it, they may behave differently because that observer could steal the food. In some situations, ravens will even move their hidden food after the potential thief leaves. That suggests they aren't simply thinking about food. They may also be thinking about what another animal knows. And then we arrive at perhaps the strangest intelligence on this list, the octopus. Unlike chimpanzees, elephants, dolphins, and birds, octopuses are separated from us by an enormous evolutionary distance. Our last common ancestor with them lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Yet, octopuses independently evolved impressive problem-solving abilities. They can navigate mazes, open containers, manipulate objects, escape enclosures, and seemingly investigate their environment out of curiosity. Their nervous system is also bizarre. A large portion of an octopus's neurons are located throughout its arms. Each arm can process sensory information and control complex movements with a degree of independence. It's almost like intelligence has been distributed throughout the body. Some octopuses have been observed carrying coconut shells and later assembling them into shelters. Others collect rocks or debris around their dens. And aquarium workers have countless stories of octopuses escaping tanks or interfering with equipment. Whether every story is scientifically documented is another matter, but their reputation as skilled escape artists is well-deserved. The fascinating thing about octopus intelligence is how different it is from ours. They aren't highly social mammals, they don't have hands, they don't live very long. Yet evolution still produced an animal capable of flexible, sophisticated problem-solving.
If you've ever assumed parrots simply repeat sounds without understanding them, some experiments suggest the story is much more complicated. African gray parrots have become especially famous for studies of animal cognition. One of the best known was Alex, a parrot studied by researcher Irene Pepperberg. Alex learned to identify colors, shapes, materials, and quantities using spoken words. He wasn't merely repeating random phrases. Under experimental conditions, he could answer questions about objects presented to him. Parrots also demonstrate complex social learning and impressive vocal communication. Their ability to imitate human speech comes from an extremely sophisticated vocal system. But the interesting part isn't that a bird can sound like us. It's that some parrots appear capable of connecting certain sounds with concepts. Now imagine combining a huge brain, sophisticated communication, cooperative hunting, and traditions passed between generations. You get the orca. Different orca populations can behave almost like different cultures. One group may specialize in hunting fish. Another may hunt seals. Different groups can use different hunting strategies and produce different vocal patterns. Young orcas learn these behaviors from older members of their group. That means knowledge isn't simply inherited genetically, it can be socially transmitted. Some populations cooperate with extraordinary precision. They may create waves to knock seals from floating ice. Others coordinate attacks on large prey. These behaviors require timing, learning, communication, and teamwork. And because different populations maintain different traditions, studying orcas raises an interesting question. At what point does learned animal behavior become something we should describe as culture? And now comes the difficult part. Who wins? Chimpanzees, dolphins, elephants, crows, octopuses. The problem is that intelligence isn't one single ability. A chimpanzee has hands and lives in a complicated social group. A dolphin navigates a three-dimensional underwater world using sound. A crow solves problems while flying through an environment filled with rapidly changing opportunities. An octopus controls 8 incredibly flexible arms and explores the world primarily through touch and chemical senses. Testing all of them with the same intelligence test would be like judging a pilot, a mathematician, a musician, and an athlete using one single competition. Different species evolved intelligence to solve different problems. And perhaps that's the most fascinating discovery of all. Human intelligence isn't the final destination of evolution. It's just one version. Across Earth, evolution has repeatedly found completely different ways to create memory, communication, problem-solving, cooperation, and perhaps even self-awareness.
The animal sitting outside your window, swimming beneath the ocean, or hiding in a forest may understand far more about its world than we once imagined. And the more scientists study animal intelligence, the harder it becomes to believe that humans have a monopoly on being clever.